Well, here we are in your backyard again, and look at Hercules, one of my favorite constellations, with that big globular cluster right there up in our green screen. Hello, everybody. I'm Marquette, Stargazer Mark today. As today we welcome you to the American Space Museum Star Curious program, but pretend you're in your own backyard. And I'm there with you, giving you a guided tour of what's up in the sites here on the week of June 10th, 2024. And every week we like to give you a little idea of what's up. And what's up right now is this beautiful globular cluster. One of the first objects I found as a little boy, turned on to astronomy in a very inexpensive telescope. This is Messier number 13, M13, and it is one of the 100 of globular clusters of thousands of stars, about 50,000 stars here, that orbit our Milky Way galaxy. And we're going to talk a little bit about these globular clusters, not too much in detail. It's just there's something happening in the sky that's predicted that you might see that is a one of a lifetime event. We hear so many of those in astronomy, but truly a star may explode before our eyes, and it's predicted maybe before September. And I'm going to show you where to look up every night, go out and look and see if there's a star where it wasn't. So how many times does a star be replaced in the sky that we see among the constellations? I'll touch on that here as we stay star curious. And also we will look at Mars and a story that was in the news about caves on Mars being the place where we might search for life on Mars. That's really not an old story, but it's been recycled. I mean, a new story. It's an old story that's being recycled. But as these things pop up, I want you're curious about them when you read them on your news feed, and I'm curious to give you the facts about them. So we welcome everyone to my backyard. I'm wearing my astronomical research space exploration of Australia there. That's the Australian Research and Space Foundation. All right, ARS. All right, thank you, Cliff Watson, for my ARS hat. I wear it with pride. Get a few snickers once in a while from people behind me as they walk by, but it is the official. It's like saying NASA in Australia. You say ARS instead, or ESA in European Space Agency. And speaking of ESA, we're going to have a couple guys with us here. One guest this week, Terry White, will be here Wednesday, our orbital processing chief, orbital processing facility chief. And Alex Carl will be here Thursday via Google Meets. And we're going to start doing that again with our intern here. Logan Cope is from the Eastern Florida State College. Thank you, Logan, for being here. Marty Winkle is over his shoulder, making sure he's doing everything right. And but we're gonna have Alex and Terry this week. Alex has been on the show. There he is showing that's crew 4 he's picking up there as part of an ESA Eurocom, and part of his duties is to come and be the support for the European astronauts that ride the Crew Dragon to the International Space Station or return. And Alex is a great guy. He's going to talk about Asteroid Day, June 30th. That is an event that you're going to want to know about. And, of course, a little bit about the ISS. So we got a good week lined up for you, and we're going to talk about shuttles of the month of June, and then some current events along the way, as we got 12 humans orbiting the Earth now, with Butch and Sonny being up there on Starliner, the third mission of a Starliner. 2 were uncrewed. Second mission of this Calypso. Or maybe Calypso did that first one that was errant. I think it did. I think this is the third flight for Calypso. So we got 3 Chinese, 3 Russians, and 6 Americans orbiting the Earth right now. 12 Earthlings off of our globe. And of course, the Chinese have got their space station, as I mentioned, with 3 tachionauts on board there. And you can see the International Space Station go over your backyard. There's an app for that. Just download it. These are easy apps. They don't take up much space, and you'll get an alert when the space station is going overhead. And I think we're in a morning phase now. Usually 1 week in the morning sky, you'll see it. 1 week in the evening sky. You're never going to see it at 3 in the morning because it's not high enough to catch any rays of the sunlight off its solar panels. That's what we're seeing is reflected sunlight when we see these satellites go over the Earth. So download an app for that. I saw it last week a couple times. And it's really cool to see other satellites, including that Starlink is what you want to see. 617 humans have orbited the Earth in all eternity, and 77 of those are women. Well, how many days old is the moon? All right. I love teaching you to talk like an amateur astronomer. And I caught the sliver of the moon last night, and tonight it is 4 days old. It was 3 days old last night, a sliver in the western sky. Okay, you have to have that sliver light facing the west. I've seen artwork and even movies where they got the lighted side on the left side. You can't have that. It has to be the side that faces the sun, and the sun's set in the west. So the moon will be 4 days old tonight, okay? And it'll be first quarter moon, or 14 days or 7 days old there on the 14th, just 2 days from now. So now you're starting to talk like an amateur astronomer. When I say the moon is 20 days old, I know that it will not interfere with the evening. It's going to rise after midnight. You see on the left, that is after full moon. It's 14 days old. So talk like an amateur astronomer and get to know things amateur astronomy and your star maps by getting a star map at your nearest bookstore has them. I'm looking around for my star maps here. Oh, there it is. I've got a planisphere. That's what they're called. Planetsphere is what it originally was, how to find the planets. You see, you've got the dates along the edge. There's June. I line up June. Where is my June? With the time of day, June 10th at 9 o'clock at 10 o'clock at night. And that I've got that set up, and that's what I'm going to be looking at in the sky. Very easy. The key is when you're looking north, you put it so that the north is in that direction, or south is the other way. But there's all kinds of sources for this. That's the way to learn it in your backyard, in a lawn chair with a star map. You got a red flashlight so your eyes don't contract your pupils. And you can read under red light, just like we used to use red light in dark rooms that didn't expose the paper that you were developing. Or you can go to this star maps, the evening sky map, skymaps.org. There, go ahead and make that bigger, Logan. And there you see a beautiful free evening sky map. This shows the sky at about 10 o'clock. Early June, 11 p.m., late June at 10 p.m., okay? It's for latitude 40, okay, more the Midwestern latitudes and above, but it still works anywhere. But there you see in the blue is the Milky Way. So at 11 o'clock at night that this map is, the Milky Way is high above the eastern horizon. You see the horizons over there. Tonight, Venus, it says, is at superior conjunction. It passes into the evening sky. So in about a month, you're going to see a real bright star pop up in the west after sunset, and that will be Venus, and it will be hanging out with us until winter almost. And then no planets are in the evening sky right now. They're all bunched up in the morning sky, very close to the sun, but by the end of summer, we will see Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars in our evening sky. And if you're local, come around where the telescopes are with the Brevard Astronomical Society or here at the American Space Museum, and we'll put those rings of Saturn, the moons of Jupiter in your eye. Mars is still a little far away. We'll see a disk of the red planet, but it doesn't get close enough to Earth now for another year. So the moon is going to be near tonight the Beehive cluster in Taurus the Bull. And 2 nights from now, it will be near the bright star Regulus in Leo the Lion. Leo the Lion, you see on the star chart there. Where is old Leo? Leo's right above my head here. Leo is a backward question mark in a right triangle. All right, make up the lion's mane there. Now, I want to show you the kite, this kite-shaped object, and then in between it is a U-shaped crown. And on the other side of the crown, or U-shaped stars, is a box, a distinctive box of stars with stars going off of it. That's Hercules. But I think it also looks like SpongeBob SquarePants, okay? So whatever floats your boat that you see in the sky that you can remember to draw you outside, you can make up your own constellations. It's perfectly all right. Though there's 88 official ones, maybe you want to make up 5 or so of your unofficial own constellations. And some people have done that, and all cultures do not use the same star patterns. In fact, the Chinese culture use mostly the bright stars and forget about the make up their mythological characters and such. So first quarter moon is on the 14th. For those of you looking forward to the full moon of June, the flower moon is the 22nd of June will be full moon. So around, and summer solstice, the first day of summer, is June 20th. This time about 8 o'clock at night, the time when the sun reaches its farthest point and the longest south, and it's the longest day. So though it's hot as blazes around our country, particularly down here in Florida, where it was 95 degrees at 7 o'clock last night, when I was looking at the thermometer thinking, should I go out and pull weeds or something? No, no mowing, no pulling weeds at 95 degrees when at 7 o'clock. So first day of summer, June 20th, still 10 days away. Well, here are the stars of the night sky. Like I said, it means so much more when you go out with the star map and connect them in your own head. But we've got Arcturus. Remember, you take the arc of the handle of the Big Dipper and you arc to Arcturus. So the Big Dipper's above this picture. Corona Borealis, okay, the Northern Crown is one of the oldest constellations, though it's one of the faintest. It's got only one bright star in it. And then you see the keystone, or the square, of Hercules, with his arms coming off of him. And to get kids hooked on astronomy, I call it SpongeBob, and they love that. And then even further north then is a bright, bright star Vega in Lyra the Harp, a lopsided parallelogram there that we'll be talking about on future Stay Star Curious Backyard Astronomy. So in your backyard, you can see all these bright stars that make up. Arcturus is what we call, it's the third brightest star in the sky. It's 0 magnitude. The stars of Hercules are about 3rd magnitude, okay? So they're less bright, and the stars of Corona Borealis, you're going to see that one star, but the other stars might be a little elusive. But there's one star there that is being advertised as we're going to see it blow up and appear in the sky where there was no star before. This is amazing that we're predicting this, but with the long times we've followed this star called the Blaze Star, this once-in-a-lifetime event could be right in your backyard, a supernova that's predicted to happen. So we'll see how that goes along here. But let's first talk about Corona before we go back to Hercules. In M13, that's what I was telling you, is this image behind me here that you can see in binoculars and even a small telescope. You won't see the individual stars. You'll see a fuzzy, like dust ball in your telescope eyepiece or binoculars. So that's what a lot of these faint fuzzies look like, dust balls or grayish cotton balls. Excuse me. Until photography was invented at just a little over 100 years ago. And when they started photographing, like the Andromeda Nebula, it quickly became the Andromeda Galaxy. So Well, one of the oldest constellations is this Corona Borealis. According to an old myth, King Minos of Crete had a daughter, Adrian, who wore a jeweled crown. Dionysius, or in Rome they would have called him Bacchus, desired Adrian for his wife. To convince her of his godly origin, he took the princess's crown and threw it up in the sky, where it could be seen that next night. And it so impressed her that she married him, of course. The northern crown can be easily found between Bootes, the herdsman, which looks like a kite or an ice cream cone, and Hercules, the square box, the keystone, or think SpongeBob, square pants, all right. Now, this star, crown of stars, Nusakan and Gemma are the two stars that you might see, all right. But the T marks T Tara there. And right now you need binoculars to see it, because it's at 10th magnitude, all right. It's going to be a hard star to see even in a telescope. But it's full of surprises. It is a reoccurring nova. A nova means new star. In 1866 and again in 1946, its brightness suddenly increased to 2.0, or about what the stars of the Big Dipper are, okay, or some of the stars that you see in nearby Arcturus. Bootes in Arcturus is the brightest star there. So this was a news story, okay, that I take with a grain of salt. And here is the explanation of the star involved. The night sky may get a new star sometime this summer. This exploding star will be bright enough to see with naked eye under light-polluted skies. Goddard Space Flight Center astronomers said that as astronomers are excited to see this, it'll mean a lot more to them than you or even me looking up at the sky at it. T Tara Coronis is a binary system, two stars, 3,000 light years from Earth. So I was talking to Marty about this, and he said, well, it's already exploded. I said, yep, 3,000 years ago probably, because the light we're seeing from this left in 1000 BC, okay? It consists of a white dwarf orbiting an ancient giant red star. So you got a white small star going around a big red star. The hydrogen from the red giant is being pulled onto the surface of the white star, and it's accumulating a critical mass that will create a thermonuclear explosion. Well, the last time the blaze star, they call it, exploded was in 1946. But a year before that blast, the system suddenly dimmed, a pattern astronomers call the pre-eruption dip. And that happened last year in 2023, heralding a new eruption. If the pattern repeats itself from 1946, the bright nova should occur between now and September 2024. So it's a 78-year-old pattern, almost 80 years, okay. And 80 years ago, in 1946, after World War II, we didn't have Hubble telescope and Webb telescope and all kinds of fancy telescopes here on Earth, of course. So the science is to be trusted on this. The outburst will be brief, but once it erupts, the nova will be visible to the naked eye for a while in your backyard. And like I said, you'll look up in between Hercules and Bootes, you will see a star that didn't exist before. Typically, they last a couple months, and then it'll dip down to the site where it can't be seen anymore. So when that happens, I'll break the news here to you so you can all go out in your backyards and see a star it's not a new star, it's actually an old star being destroyed, and some stars just blow up completely and have a small white dwarf in the middle, or even a neutron star. Some burp it out over thousands and even millions of years, as the life cycles of stars are what we're trying to understand, so we can get a hold on our most important star called Sun. And Sun is 4 billion years to about an 8 billion year life cycle. And all this is determined by how big, how much mass a star begins with out of that cradle, so to speak. It never gets much bigger. Well, it can when you exchange material like shown here. But what you're born with, sort of like if you're born 7 foot, you're born to grow up at 7'2", you might end up playing basketball. But if you grew up to be 5'10", you probably don't have much of a chance as the bigger people. So that's sort of how it works with stars. Stars fall into categories called the Hertzsprung-Russell diagram. We'll talk about that one day. Well, there's Hercules in a stylized look at him with the crown there beside him. There again, there's Corona Borealis. We will see that new star erupt about right there. Right in there is where you're going to want to be looking every night. Find Hercules. You'll find Arcturus. If you go between Vega and Arcturus, there's hardly any bright stars that you won't see any stars in between there much. But one night here in a month or so, maybe there'll be a new star. All right. Well, in the borders of Hercules, one of my favorite constellations, the keystone is the square. You have 2 globular clusters. Globular clusters are concentrations of stars that are very old, okay? And this is an anomaly. Some appear even older than the galaxy itself that they orbit, all right? Here's what they look like if you made a sketch of it, all right, using vellum black paper and white pencil there. That's M92 at 120 power, not very much power as I look at this drawing here. And here's the photograph of M13, Messier 13, Charles Messier, the Frenchman that cataloged all of these faint fuzzies because he wanted them to move. If they moved, he suddenly had a comet that could be named after himself. 200 years ago, that's how you became famous in astronomy, is you discovered a comet and then it bore your name. Like Edwin Halley discovered, he didn't discover it, he predicted Halley's comet and died before it came around. But it's been coming around for centuries. Every 76 years, the most famous comet, Halley's. Well, these were not comets because they didn't move. All right. You can always find it by these 2 stars, that blue star and red star, though those colors do not look like that with the naked eye. Only through photography are they revealed. But a very cool looking 150,000 stars in this. And they're buzzing around. All right. Here's the Hubble telescope looking into the core of this. And yet, if we were passing through it, our sky wouldn't look too much different. A few new stars. You'd think it'd be covered with all kinds of stars. No, the stars are so far apart. It's really amazing to think in contexts like that. Well, here is our Milky Way galaxy. If we look straight down on it on the left, and if we looked edge on to it on the right. See where the sun is located? In our Milky Way galaxy, just a normal star. Actually, we're for what's called a yellow dwarf star in the scheme of things. We're actually a pretty small star. And we have what's called a bar of stars in the middle and spiral arms coming off of it. It's called a barred spiral. And edge on, it looks like that, with the halo of all these other stars around it. Those are actually globular clusters. All right. Our Milky Way has 100 billion stars in it. Just an arbitrary number. We're not, could be 200 billion, but we know it's more than 100 billion. So how many of those stars blow up in one year? That was another story that was in the news there this week that I noticed. Here's our Milky Way that I took out in Texas. To Texas Star Party. That's actually Mars up in the sky, real bright up there. But the Milky Way rising, it can be stunning in a dark sight place. But what we're looking at is what's called the Perseus arm. All right. Again, looking down on our Milky Way galaxy, with these bars on there to kind of give you a layout. But when we look at the Milky Way, we're looking here at close to us what's called the Perseus arm. We don't see the Sagittarius arm or the Norman arm because they're on the other side of our galaxy. We just see little traces of Scutum Centaurus arm there. But this is, how do we know we look like this? It's inferred from all the data taken by astronomical observatories and astronomical satellites. All right, none of them have been outside of our galaxy, of course. The furthest things from the Earth that are man-made are Voyager 1 and 2, and they are only like half a light year away, something like that, only like about 15 to 20 billion miles away. But this is very complex, yet we know a lot about it. And here is what we think if we could go outside, what we look like from another galaxy. This is a real galaxy in the sky. Maybe that bar in our center is a little bit more of a bar. We don't know what causes that. The red stars are new stars forming in places like our own great nebula of Orion, and all these great pictures we're seeing from the Webb and Hubble. The Hubble, of course, for almost 35 years, been showing us the birthplace of stars, and they look reddish. So a lot of stars are being born in this picture, but none are dying, because if a star was dying, it would be show bright in there. And about 2 or 3 times a year, we see in the closest galaxies stars blow up and appear, and then they dim down. This is what we're talking about. So the scientists tell us how many stars change in our Milky Way sky. Hardly any, okay? We have, they say 50 or so stars die each century in the Milky Way, or about 1 star every 2 years, okay? So stars are long-living objects. They're, of course, a nuclear reaction where hydrogen is being converted to helium, giving off light and heat and other kinds of exotic X-rays and so forth. But and you know, exploding stars become white dwarfs, or the most brown dwarfs are the most common stars in the galaxy, and you'll never see those because they're brown. They're burnt embers. They are the remains of stars that have blown up and then kind of embered out like those charcoals in your grill. So while stars are being born by the hundreds and thousands every year in every galaxy, only 1 or 2 stars die in each galaxy every year. And we're seeing that across the universe as we look at other things going on there. So hope you've enjoyed looking at some stars and understand a little bit about your backyard sky. Get the star map. Like I said, this is a great week to do some constellation ID because the moon's not too bright. That moonlight will wash out the brightest stars, but you can easily see the stars, the Big Dipper in the north. The Little Dipper just mirrors it across from it. With Polaris, the North Star is the tail of the Little Dipper on there. Well, I saw a couple stories about Mars in the news last week, and I thought, well, that's my favorite planet. I always love talking about Mars. And here is an amateur photography backyard look at Mars last year when it was super close to us. And those are called oppositions of 22. So I guess we're going to have an opposition of 2024. It's not a real close one, but still we'll be able to see. You're never going to see Mars like this in a eyepiece, all right? But what we are seeing is in a telescope where they combine 100 images taken. That's what this is. But you got the north and south polar cap of Mars, very distinct. Okay, the North Pole cap is made of mostly carbon dioxide, so it disappears in the Mars summer. But see that on the either side of the white, that is clouds that are forming in the evening And then I mean, evening would be on the left and morning on the right. Okay. So though Mars' atmosphere is very thin, it's like Mount Everest, where it is 6 miles above the Earth's surface. You have to have help breathing. There's no ozone layer or big atmosphere layer to protect you from the X-rays of the sun and rays that would burn you up. But there's a lot of things that are going on that we still don't understand, and they've been wanting to find water around at the poles. We found H2O water, but they just discovered water at the equator of Mars, where it should be the hottest. And at the equator, this is volcanoes. Here's the largest volcano in the solar system, Olympus Mons. You got 3 volcanoes on the horizon, a couple of them in between there, all right, small ones. But this crater, this Olympus Mons, the largest crater in the solar system, because there's no tectonic plates on Mars. So all the nothing has moved like the Hawaiian island chains and constantly moved the flow of the lava coming up, so it doesn't pile and pile and pile. It piles for a while and then creates another pile. This is 18 miles high, the largest mountain in the solar system. 18 miles high. What does that mean? Well, if you're a Dave Stange up in Michigan, and I'm down here in Florida, and about halfway between us is Atlanta, something like, let's say, 500 miles away, you would see the Caldera Peak above the horizon. From down in Florida, looking north, if this was in Atlanta, it would stick above the horizon, and I would see it. That's how big it is. Well, what they have found, they're always seeing clouds and so forth accumulate here, but what they haven't seen is frost. All right, and by golly, the Mars Explorer, European Space Agency's Mars Orbiter, okay, Mars Express, has imaged frost that's the thickness of a human hair that briefly appeared, and then the sunlight melted it within an hour. And why we haven't found this before is most of the American orbiters are keyed into taking photos in the bright daylight or evening of Mars, and you have to catch this at the morning sunlight coming up there. So it's quite exciting. There's another stylized picture of Olympus Mons shown from a perspective sideways there, and that white area is frost that was on top of the mountain. And they're really just a few hours around sunrise. It evaporated quickly, but there's enough water content to fill 60 Olympic swimming pools. Okay, just out of that water. This is a huge structure. So that amount of frost there. They also think that the frost in the caldera, that's what the opening of a volcano is called, caldera, they think that this creates its own atmosphere 18 miles up there, its own environmental, and everything never escapes there. So the moisture stays inside the caldera there. Now, all around these mountains of Mars, called the Tharsis Bulge, are caves. All right, we're going to see that here in a second. But this is an artist's concept of what we know about Mars and where Mars could have had a lot of water in the blue areas there. Kind of reminds you of Earth with the Pacific Ocean. But those are a lot of lakes. You got Valles Marineris, the largest chasm that would stretch from New York to Los Angeles across America right there. You're looking at a 4,000-mile diameter globe instead of our Earth being 8. And the Tharsis Bulge is up there in the upper left. You see those volcanoes up there on the left. Well, these volcanoes bring with them, like all volcanoes, tubes of lava that are squirted out and go to the surface, and those create caves. And we've known for years that Mars has caves, but there was a story that hit the news that these larger caves on the flanks of the volcanoes of Mars are generating excitement because they reveal a little bit about what's beneath Mars, and we think they could protect us from the harmful cosmic rays and radiation from the sun. And this is obviously, I think, where we're going to find life. That is a cave of Mars that is, how big is that? So it's a mile or so across. Here's another cave of Mars. Now that looks like it. Look, you could just get up to the side of it and walk in it. All right. But of course, we're looking at the bottom of the cave there and boulders that have rolled down and so forth. But inside that cave could be life. I think that's where we're going to find life on Mars. Is the caves will have blind crickets or blind roly-polies or something like that. Because it's a perfect shelter, and we know there's a lot of water on Mars. So, and we know that caves on Earth keep a 72 degree atmosphere in there. This is just right. So we're going to figure out and probably go to caves on Mars at some point in time. This is, again, the mountains of Mars. These are those three craters of the Tharsis Bulge, and up at the top left is Olympus Mons. And all of those red dots are cave openings around these volcanoes. So there's literally dozens and dozens. And it will start us thinking about caving on an alien planet. And we'll be consulting with cavers here on Earth to find out the equipment we need. Communication is going to be a big deal, of course. But this is where the true exploration on Mars is probably going to happen. Well, another story I saw about Mars in the news was rover Perseverance went over a Mars rock and it cracked open, and inside were all kinds of crystal and structures and so forth. This is not that rock. I was trying to find that rock. I saw it for days on social media as it really crushed it, and you could see how pretty it was. But this is another rock that got busted open by one of the rovers running over it. Okay. After all, they do have quite a bit of weight, and they're can bust rocks, which, you know, they've got a rock drill and an analyzer that scrapes off the Martian dust that's on all the rocks, coating it for millions of years from those volcanoes. See, those giant volcanoes belched out all that matter into the air, and it landed on Mars in forms of metallic ash and water, and it rusted out. That's why Mars is red. All right, so we love seeing that, and just want to remind you how beat up those wheels can get. This is Curiosity. Don't forget about Curiosity still operating after 10 years. Perseverance is in its second year, but look at how the beat up. There's holes in these. When they saw this before they launched Perseverance, they upgraded the wheels a little bit there. But just roving this thing over rocks, going up inclines and so forth, has taken its toll on our rovers there. And just recently, we in the news was a rock that had been rolling in one of the front wheels of Perseverance for over a year. It just got kicked in there somehow. You know how driving on things are. It got kicked in there, and then it stayed inside of there for a year. And look at how it rubbed it around in there. You can see it kind of even like a rock tumbler probably did something to it there. They kept taking pictures of it. Finally, it has hopped out of the wheel after over a year. So that's always interesting that you had a hitchhiker there on the Mars rover for about a year, and now it finally kicked out. So if you're more interested in images of Mars, go to the Jet Propulsion Lab site or just Google NASA Mars rovers. It will take you to some great places, and you can get lost in it. We try to post some of those on weekends on our Facebook page. Wanted to thank Dave Stange for watching. Also watching our Backyard Astronomy today is Hello 12229. William Whiting is watching up in Michigan again. Steve Jokums, thank you. Man Space is watching. All right. Uh, we've got some friends there. Mitch, yeah, I keep thinking Martin, but no, it's Mitch. Mitch is up there at the Man Space uh, Facebook page you'll all want to check out, NASA Man Space. Tom and Mark Usiak watching, and Olin Wasson's watching today. So thank you all for staying star curious in your backyard. Go out there, find Hercules, a square in the sky. It's pretty big, actually, and all the stars are about the same. You can easily see the brightest star in the sky when you're looking in the upper east. High in the east is going to be Arcturus, and between Arcturus and the stars to the left is the crown. All right, the beautiful crown up there of the queen, and keep glancing at it every night, because you might see a star there, and then no, I might not see a star there, and all of a sudden one night that supernova will have blown up. So always something interesting to make you look up or think about what's up there in the sky. And remember, no one owns the original of the sky. I can make a drawing of M13 there, this globular cluster, and I have many times. And it's not of any scientific use, but it's me seeing that object, okay, thousands of light years away, and I've recorded it the best I can, and I own it, so you can do the same. So hope everyone will join us this week, as we've got, let's see again, we've got guests coming up here. Terry White will be on Wednesday, and Alex Carl on Thursday. Two great people that have supported our Space Museum and Stay Curious now for well over 2 years. You're going to learn. Terry and I are going to talk about shuttle delay pressure, because there was a lot of pressure on the Starlink, or Starship, to get it up. Starliner, I'll get it right. Too many stars in the sky. A lot of media criticism about Starliner, and Terry and I talked a little bit about it, and he's going to put together a good show about media pressure and other pressure to launch the shuttle. And how they handled that. Even one shuttle had the nickname Penguin, the bird that can't fly, because it took so long to get it off the Earth. But eventually they did. So looking forward to Terry and our good friend Alex Carl. And I know you, if you're new to Stay Curious, you'll enjoy them both. So until tomorrow, when we talk about some of the shuttles of the month of June and some current events, I'm Mark Marquette saying, I can't wait to see you in your backyard to do some stargazing and bridge the space between us. All right, let's see if that